Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Build Show. I'm John Peitzman, JP, certified high-performance coach and creator of the Build Framework. I help individuals and teams all over the world thrive in their personal and professional lives. And as your host on this show, our aim is to help transform lives one guest at a time. And we do that by having amazing guests. And today is no different. We have with us an amazing guest. We have Jay Izso. Jay is a peak performance coach, multi-award winning author, speaker, and host of his own success and leadership podcast entitled A New Direction. Jay's purpose and passion is to help individuals and audiences all over the world to become more successful and to positively influence all those around them. He takes a holistic approach with all his clients. He works with the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. Jay also enjoys life as a part-time ocean lover, a hack musician, a sports fan, and a classic movie buff. He's coming to us today from the United States in Raleigh, North Carolina, where he lives with his wife, Laura Kraft. Jay, welcome to The Build Show.
Thanks, JP. I am so privileged to be here. I'm very grateful. Thank you.
No, I was just looking at our history together, and I remember being on your show back in April 2019, A New Direction. You were part of the inspiration. I think I was just starting this show back then. Sorry it's been so long to get you on, but we're just starting to branch out now around the world, as you know. So thank you for joining us from the United States and for being such an inspiration and doing the consistent work over time to just reach all the individuals you do around the world to do that, positive influence in their lives. It's really, really appreciated.
Thank you. You know what? You're part of it too. I mean, I always tell people I have the best job in the world doing the podcast and the show, because I literally read the book and then I bring the guest on and I just let them talk.
Right.
So
Exactly.
my job's pretty easy.
There you go.
Larry King said once, when I study Larry King and these great interviewers, and he said once, I just ask a question and just try to stay out of the way.
Right.
And I've taken that advice and I think it works.
There you go. Well, I'll try to take that advice today. So let's start with what you're excited about right now. So what's going on in your life that you're really excited about right now?
I am really excited about my Coaching Mavericks program that I have going on right now. I just love my clients. I've fallen back in love with my clients and doing Coaching Mavericks. And so people, the cowboy hat and the whole thing, right? Well, I'm originally from the Midwest, which is literally Nebraska, which is right in the center of the United States, and it's farming country. And so I was raised in a town of 119 people before I went to grad school and worked on my master's and my doctorate in psychology. And so I started Coaching Mavericks. I had been coaching, doing some life coaching, executive coaching, entrepreneur coaching, but I am really excited about what's happening. I think we're doing some really exciting things. My clients are just going crazy, doing great things, and I love it. And then of course podcasting is a love too, because that's something I never knew I was going to love to do, and I love doing it.
Right. That's great. And as you know, we kind of use the Build Framework as a model to have a conversation. And for those of you who still don't know what the Build Framework is, it's an acronym. It stands for Build Relationships, Understand the Business, Implement Strategies, Lead and Inspire, and Deliver Excellence. And what I love about this show is that even though the framework is the same, all the guests have a unique journey with the Build Framework and a unique kind of application of it in their lives, and the insights we get are always unique because of that. So let's kick it off with B, right? Build relationships. I mean, what are some of the most important relationships that you've had in your life on your journey so far?
I lost my last mentor. Growing up, on the farm, I was a farm hand. My dad didn't farm. I was a farm hand in a town of 119 people. So I lost my last mentor, and all these men, the farmers that I worked for and the ranches and everything that I did, they all influenced me in some way, which is why I wrote the last book called Lessons from the Farm, Essential Rules for Success, because it was really about these men who really changed me as a young man and gave me great lessons going forward. I think currently, though, the relationships that mean the most to me, I think are right now, first of all, my relationship with God is really important. And I'm not trying to be religious, but it's just really important. My faith is really important to me, and that relationship is important. My relationship with my wife is number two, because my wife will tell me the truth, even if I don't want to hear it. And, I think my wife is also a very successful business person. and has a very successful real estate company. And, she keeps me in check, and she's one of the smartest people I know. And then I think the third one, this may be unique, is the relationship with myself. I think as I've matured, and I think as I've grown and as I've changed, that relationship with me has made a huge difference in my own success and the ability to lead and inspire other people.
Right. And how have you seen that change and grow over the years?
Yeah, so let's take the faith piece part. First of all, the faith piece, here's the thing. I know that when I'm in really good faith, I've got 9 things that I'm going to show, right? I'm going to be more loving. I'm going to be more joyful. I'm going to be more peaceful, regardless of the chaos. I'm going to be far more patient. I'm going to be more kind. I'm going to be good in terms of I'm going to do the right thing more often. I'm going to be more gentle under stress. I'm going to be more faithful. My integrity is better, and I'm going to have better self-control. So when I know that relationship is working out, I know that it produces certain aspects in me, behaviors in me that are just better and stronger, because there's nothing wrong with those 9 things. I mean, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, gentleness, faithfulness, self-control. Those are great things to have. And I know that that is part of my faith journey. And when I'm in tune with that, that happens. With my wife, when we are really in tune and when our communication is right? What I know is this: there are no business problems, there are only personal problems that affect our business. And when my relationship with my wife is really good, my business is better, regardless of what it is, whether I'm writing, whether I'm podcasting, whether I'm coaching, or whether I'm speaking. That is just true. And then my relationship with myself is that, we have a tendency to be blocked by a couple things. One is our previous programming blocks us from our success. And then typically the second thing that blocks us from our success is that we listen to other people because we're worried that we're worried about what they think. It's quite often. Yeah. And so we shape our behavior around, like basically walking on eggshells. And I think as you have a better relationship with yourself, you get more comfortable in your own skin and you're more authentic. And so that you can speak more authentically. And I think those are the things, when I think about why they're so important, why they're such a catalyst, I think those are the things that propel me even more, because I'm never going to get there. I'm going to be on a journey in all 3 of those relationships. Right. There's not an end point.
Yeah. I love that. If we look at you understand the business, right? Next category, you have a lot of understandings, obviously, of the business, of your life, of the business of your business as well. What are some things you'd like to share with the audience today about your relationship with understand the business as a category? So the first thing is you got to build the plane while it's flying. So many times I think people want everything perfect before they'll do anything. And, when we wait, it's too late. I mean, if you have an idea today and you're trying to perfect it, by the time you actually perfect it, it's too late. You're like a computer at a store. By the time you pick up that computer off the shelf, it's obsolete. Yeah.
So whatever your business idea is, and this is the thing I've been so grateful for, is that I'm not afraid to build the plane while it's in the air. I mean, I'll figure it out as we go, but I want to always be bleeding edge, not cutting edge, bleeding edge.
Did you say leading or bleeding edge?
Bleeding.
Bleeding edge. You want to be there. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I want to be bleeding edge. I don't want to just see the cut. I want to see the blood. And I don't have to see the answers. I want to be on the edge of everything. I've always been an early adapter. I think the other thing is that I think when it comes to understanding the business is learning when to keep going and learning when to let go. I've interviewed a lot of special operations forces guys, and from Delta Force, Green Berets, Navy SEALs. And, the one thing that these guys have all said is, you have to know when to get out of battle.
Yep.
And you have to know when you need to go forward. And I think that's the thing you have to learn most, because it's not a hard and fast rule, but you have to take some risks, and you have to sometimes fall down and get back up again. But I think if you're going to be profitable in business, which business is all about profit, I think, one of the things that you have to do is you have to understand that sometimes you have to just keep pressing forward even when you don't see anything, but you need to know when also it's time to say enough's enough. And there's no hard and fast rule for that, but you can learn that just over time.
Right. So what's one on either one of those, or maybe one of both, I don't know, but one time like for you that you've done the bleeding edge thing, you've stayed engaged and it worked out, or a time where you thought, it's time to disconnect, and that was the right thing to do, where it was kind of, a situation where you had to back away?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think where it didn't work out for me is I kept trying to teach universities.
Right.
And what I didn't realize, and it was actually a guest on my show who kind of gave me my epiphany, but what I didn't realize is that my personality did not match the place I was engaged in working. And so I kept trying to plug myself into being a university professor. And the truth of the matter is I couldn't handle the bureaucracy and the way that it was just so strictly laid out. I'm kind of a free spirit, and I've even been told, there's a write-up about me, I think at the last university, or one of the universities I was at, that says I was a loose cannon because I wouldn't follow protocol. I would just jump ahead because I just wanted to get the right thing done, right? And so that hurt me, but it was a really good lesson to finally just say, you know what, you got to stop doing this because this isn't working. And I did it too long. I should have got out earlier, is what I should have done. On the other hand, the podcast was something that I had never done before. And we are 3 years into this thing. And as I told you before the show started, the world's #1 best-selling relationship author has been on the show, Dr. John Gray, twice. And, I've interviewed some of the greatest best-selling authors. I've interviewed JP, and he's been awesome too. And so I just built that while we just built it while we're going. And you don't know what you're doing. You just try to learn as much as you can and keep learning. And I still am. And I think that's what's fun.
And you said you're in 80 countries. Did I hear that right before the show started?
Yeah.
Is that right? Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. Was that just kind of organic growth? It just kind of happens and expands? Obviously, there's some mindfulness behind that, but is that what you expected when you started out, that you'd be in 80 countries?
No. I thought, honestly, I thought we would be just kind of a local kind of thing. I thought it would be, we'll kind of be in the US. Maybe we'll get to Canada.
Right.
And, that'd be kind of neat. And then the UK came on strong. And then when you were on my show, France came on. And France is like my number, after the US, I think France is number 2, most downloaded country. And then Singapore, and then I think it's the UK, and then India, and goes on from there. But I mean, we're in China, I never thought it'd be in China or Hong Kong or, Romania or having fans in Germany.
Right.
I never expected that. I'm grateful for it, but I never expected it. And I love the fact that they reach out to me. Right. They truly do. They reach out to me on LinkedIn, and they tell me they listen to the show, and they want me to be a guest on their show. And I've done shows just like this. I've done shows in other countries, and just because I'm grateful for it. It's cool.
Now, do you speak 80 languages, or do they dub you?
You know what? I am told I barely speak English.
Right.
Supposedly, I can speak a little Italian. Right. But I do love learning language. So I'm learning Hebrew and trying to speak Hebrew. So that's the next language I'm trying to work on, and it's hard.
And do they change the audio of it so it dubs, or do they do subtitles, or it's mainly in English in those different countries, or do they actually change the audio, or does it depend on the country?
I think it depends on the country. Some people have some sort of a translator. My understanding is, right. I think though, JP, honestly, that what happens is that there is a lot of English speaking and also Americans that are all overseas. And I think I may be getting and English is a fairly common language. Right. And so I think that's probably what's really going on. But I've heard that some people translate it. So.
Right. But you do know that it's not you speaking those languages, so that's what we do know.
Yeah, no, it's not me.
Barely speaking
no,
English, as you say, right? So let's
no.
get to I, to implement strategies, right? Obviously, you've
Right.
implemented a ton of strategies in your personal and professional life. What are some strategies that you'd like to share with the listeners today that you think are really important to take home?
Yeah, I have a formula. It's called attitude plus effort times creativity equals success.
Right. Hang on.
And that's
Write that down, guys. No, this is important. Take out your journals, right? So say it again, and I want everyone to capture this.
Yeah, so in parentheses, attitude plus effort
Right.
times creativity equals success.
Got
And
it.
let me explain how that works. So first of all, we're in control of our attitude and effort at all times. Doesn't matter what's going on in your life. Not saying that it's easy, but we're always in control of our attitude and our effort. And so if we look at attitude and effort as being +1, or for positive attitude, or -1, right?
Yep.
We can kind of do this multiplication, and creativity we can assign it a +1 or a -1 or 0. So if my attitude is a +1 and my effort is a +1, and I multiply that times my creativity, and my creativity is a +1 or whatever it may be, what's going to happen is I'm going to be at my highest peak of success. But let's say my attitude is a 0 and my effort is a +1 and I still have creativity. I still may be somewhat successful just because I'm working hard and I have some creativity. The same may be true that I may have a great attitude, I have not very good effort, but I still have creativity,
Right.
then I can still be successful. So the point being is that what happens is if we can unleash the right side of our brain, we can pretty much accomplish anything, but it's going to take both attitude and effort to be able to do that. So I understand that the strategy that I have to have every single day is, first of all, gratitude is my number one thing when I first wake up in the morning. I write down 7 things I'm grateful for.
Awesome.
Because that changes my attitude. And here's the beautiful thing, JP. The beautiful thing about when I write down those 7 things on my gratitude card. This is a gratitude card. They're just a little card like this.
Yep.
And it says gratitude on it. I write 7 things down on it, and I put it in a jar. I can pull out any card that I ever wrote any morning, and it's dated. And I could look at the 7 things I wrote down. And you want to know something that's really awesome? Doesn't matter what happened in my day, I'm still grateful for those 7 things, regardless of what day it was.
Right.
Now, effort is another thing, because you know what? We're not very honest about our effort often. So we think we're working hard, but we may not be working as hard as we think. Because the one thing I learned on the farm is that, you know what? You always have more in the tank than you think you have. Because we used to throw bales from sunup to sundown, and I found it amazing that on a hot Nebraska, 98-degree day, we threw bales all day, and at the end of we'd go home, shower, and we still had time to go, play around and go out on a date and do everything else. You always have more left in the tank. So the question is, how great is your effort? And you're in control of that. Matter of fact, Rod Brendamore, who great hockey player, NHL hockey player, and is the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. I talked to him at length one time. We were working out together one summer, and he said to me, just give me effort. He said, because you can control your effort. You can't control what the puck does. You can't control what the ice is, but you can control your effort every time you go up and down the ice. And he said, all I want is guys who just have great effort. And that stuck with me because I knew it was something that I could control. And then the creative piece, I think so often as we age, we tend to think logically too much. And we need to reopen that right side of our brain and have that mystery and that openness and that crazy thought process that we did when we were kids. Because it's that kind of creativity coupled with our attitude and our effort that's going to create the greatest successes in your life.
Right. I love that. Attitude plus effort times creativity. And that's personal and professional, right? Because you can apply that across the board.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Amazing. How about leading and inspiring? So what does that mean to you, and how do you ensure that you're doing that every day?
First of all, you have to be a constant learner. You will never because people, I think, want people just to follow them, but you have to be in a constant learning mode. You will never lead and inspire if you're not regularly learning. And the other thing you have to do is you have to give people the reins, meaning
Yep.
great leaders, at least from what I've studied about them, share their leadership, and they allow others to lead where they can so that they're not in total control. Some people will call this empowerment, but you truly have to let them lead. You have to let people lead in their own way. That's why I call it the Maverick way, because everybody has their own unique strengths and talents and abilities, and you have to allow people to lead in the way they can, and you can share that. And then you got to lead with great attitude, and you got to lead with great effort. It starts with modeling. I have to model every day when I'm out and about in public, or in my household, or with my friends, or with my family, or younger generation, or the people that I talk to. My attitude and effort's everything, because it affects you.
Right.
You know this.
Yep.
When I'm in a great positive area, you're in a great positive area, and we reflect that from each other. And it's so powerful. And I don't think people understand that you have this great power inside of you, that if you will just go ahead and turn your light on inside of your attitude and your effort, and people will say, you don't know what I'm going through. You're right, I don't. But here's what I do know, that regardless of what you're going through, you can still turn that switch. It's possible for you. I get it. Your life may have circumstances that stink, but you know what? You could still turn on your attitude. You could still smile to the person who is bagging your groceries. You can tell them to have a great day. It sounds so simple and so nonsensical, but it influences a world. It changes the attitudes of people around you because your attitude is positive.
Yep.
And when you lead from a place of gratitude, and that's the place, right? I am so grateful that, first of all, that you invited me to do this. But when you lead from gratitude, you will see people differently, because you want them to be as grateful for their lives as what you're grateful for yours, regardless of what's happening. Because life has not always been easy for me. It hasn't, and there have been times. I didn't come from a family with money. I came from a very lower middle class family, right? But you know what? We had everything we needed in a town of 119 people in a farming community. And I did learn one thing. I learned that every day you get up, work hard, have a good attitude, face it, be authentic, be you, be comfortable in your own skin. Take what talents, abilities you have. They're not meant to hoard, they're meant to share. That's purpose.
No, I love that. And I love how just automatically, in the book, we talk about the build framework, centrifugal looping, right? And how one builds on the other. So you're kind of automatically doing that. You're talking about the three relationships you have, right? God, your wife, yourself, and then understanding the business of when to give up, when to actually keep pushing, and then implementing strategies, which is, the whole formula that you have, right? Attitude, effort, and creativity. But now, leading and inspiring, you actually referenced that formula, right? Because you're like, I lead and inspire by having the right attitude, the right effort, and having creativity, right? By not giving up, going back to understanding the business, by strengthening those relationships that I have, right? Because leading and inspiring at the end of the day is about the relationships you build, the understanding you have, and the strategies that you're implementing, right? And I loved how you just did that automatically in talking about leading and inspiring, which then, of course, leads to delivering excellence. So, what does excellence even mean to you, and how do you make sure that you deliver excellence every day?
All right, so let's tack the first question first. What does that mean to me? First of all, it's a journey. Excellent. We have to make sure that we understand that excellence is not perfection.
Right.
Because when people get caught into perfection, they're looking for something that will never occur. But excellence is this constant, continuous journey that means that I can improve in every area of my life. And early on, when you talked about in my bio, and I coach, right? I want people to improve physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yep.
In those 4 areas, right? Because they all kind of affect each other. Now, whatever that means to you, right? So I think when it comes to excellent, I want to be excellent every day. Pat McNamara is a former Delta Force guy, and he has this great book that I train using. It's called Combat Strength Training. And he He says, you want to wake up physically every day. And if your clone should show up, you want to kick its butt. Right?
Just
right?
be a
That's
little
what
bit
you want to
better
do.
than yourself every day. Right, exactly. I like
Right?
that. I like that analogy. That's great.
Yeah, right? It's a great analogy. So, and I think about that mentally, right? So that means, I have to be an active participant in my mental journey of excellence, meaning that, that's why I read a book a week for the show. So I read over 50 books a year, right? Because I want to be better mentally. I want to be tougher mentally, right? And it means I have to experience things and I have to learn from them, which means I have to fall down and skin my knees and have to get back up again. I want to be emotionally stronger every day, meaning that under stress, under pressure, when I'm tired, when I'm hungry, can I control my emotions, regardless of what happens? Oh, and then the second part of that is, am I able to tap into and understand the emotions of other people? Am I getting better at that every day? Am I being a better listener? Am I hearing people? Do I have the emotional vocabulary to be able to, that today it's better than it was yesterday? And then finally, spiritually, what is it that gives me center or peace, right? And I mean, listen, for me, it's God. I get it. Some people, it's nature, meditation or whatever. But the point is it working? And then, are you growing? And is it helping you? So to me, excellence is taking all four of those areas of my life and making sure that I've attributed something every single day to that. And, whether that is I need rest, whether it is I need to drink more water, whether it's I need more exercise, whether it's I need to eat right, whatever it may be, am I being excellent? Right?
Yep.
And if I'm not, what do I need to change?
Yep. I love that. And I love having the habits to do that, right? In certified high performance coaching, we talk about it's all about habits, right? Your clarity, energy, courage, productivity, influence. It's like you can understand those philosophically, but what are you doing each and every day? And the trigger words you have that you have listed out, the habits you have to help yourself in all of those areas, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's so important to actually have a routine, have discipline, and continue on so that excellence, like you said, is a journey and keeps going every day.
What you hit, there was a word I was about to say and you said it, and it's the discipline piece.
Yep.
And, we don't like talking about discipline very much because we live in a world that says you should just be able to, pretty much do whatever you want to do. And truth is relative and everything is relative, right? And the fact of the matter is discipline is extraordinarily important. And, I was talked about all these different, guys I have the privilege of interviewing on the show who were served, in the United States and overseas. And, they all say the same thing, is that you have to embrace the suck. You have to be deliberately discomfort. You have to be in deliberate discomfort. And, I don't think people understand that. I can teach you as a coach, right? I can teach you a lot of things. I can teach you a lot about psychology. I can even teach you brain anatomy and function and tell you how the vesicular release of a neurotransmitter works. Sure. I can explain that and dumb that down for you. I cannot teach you patience and perseverance because you have to live those. And that requires discipline. And it requires, honestly, it requires you to have some fortitude to get back up again.
Absolutely.
So I can't teach those things to you. You have to do those.
And that's about our habits. And the interesting thing, and I know you know this, but for the audience out there, the discipline actually gives you the freedom. People think, oh, I don't want discipline. I want to be more free and kind of go with the flow. So actually, if you want that in your life, right, that flexibility, that security, that free, whatever you want to, label it as, when you have discipline to actually attract and then maintain that, that's what actually brings that into your life, right?
Yeah, I think, the habit formation piece, JP, you and I, are on the same page with this habit thing. I think what people don't understand is that when it comes to habits, that you've created habits over the course of your life. I don't care how old you are, wherever people are watching or listening. I don't care how old you are, you've got habits, right? So what happens is you have to undo those habits. Well, if you're 30 years old, it took you 30 years to get that habit. If you're 40, it's taking you 40 years to develop that habit. You're probably not going to do it overnight.
Like that.
So you have to apply the discipline piece to break the habit. And what I usually tell my clients is you have to find a behavior that counters whatever the behavior is of the habit. So it's got to be something that's incompatible with the behavior. So if your behavior is you have a tendency to wake up in the middle of the night to eat chips in your pantry,
Right.
put a lock on your pantry. Because I'm going to tell you, you're not going to, in the middle of the night, you're not going to dig for a key.
Right.
And notice I didn't say get rid of the chips.
Right.
Because I get it. You may want to have some chips sometime, but put a lock in your pantry.
Right.
Because
Make
now
it
it's
difficult, right? Interrupt the pattern, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, Skinner said that, you know.
Exactly.
I had the fortune of studying under B.F. Skinner's last student, but Skinner said that, right? We have to do pattern interrupts if we want to break that chain of behaviors, right? And so, and it's part of what we do when we have to break that chain. We have to do things that are incompatible and interrupt them.
Yeah.
That's why smoking, people who smoke, right? They tell people, fastest way to break smoking is because when people eat, they smoke right after, right?
Right.
They tell people delay after you eat, delay when you're going to smoke because it's faster to break the habit.
Exactly.
So rather than smoking immediately after a meal, you wait.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you wait longer and you wait longer and wait longer. And then all of a sudden you're not smoking after you eat. Now you're starting to break the habit. And it's so because it's associated with something else.
Yep. We could talk all day and all night. And we might.
I'm telling you.
But before we kind of wrap things up, I mean, are there any other words of wisdom or things that you'd like to share with the audience as far as, your journey with the Build framework and the rest of it?
Yeah. You know what? Listen, the truth of the matter is we're in a people business, regardless whether you're B2B or B2C, you're a people business. And P&Ls, while we call them profits and losses, to me, it's really people and lives.
Right.
And
love that.
And at the end of the day, that's really what it is. And I love hearing from people. And my wife gets mad at me because sometimes I just give away my coaching for free sometimes. But I feel like if I can help and they can't afford it, I'm going to help.
Yeah.
And that's not always a great business plan, but it always works out in the end anyway. So I would just say, listen, if you want to reach out and connect with me, please do. You can find me on every social media platform. I've written books about it and articles about social media. I love interacting with people. In reality, we have a very short period of time on this planet. We need to connect with each other without secondary motives. And so I encourage people to find me. Look at jayizso.com, connect with me. There's not going to be any pressure from me. I'm not going to try to sell you something. I just want to talk to you and see who you are, because we're a drop in the bucket in the lifetime of this world. And so the more people we can meet, the better our lives will be.
I love that. I couldn't have articulated it more clearly myself. And again, that was my question about how to get a hold of you, but you just said it. jayizso.com is the best place to get a hold of you. So we'll put that up on the screen for folks too. So great. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for being on the show today. I love that we're connecting around the world and you're all the way from the United States to Australia, and really, really appreciate you and your time. All of you who joined us today, or if you're listening on the replay, thank you for joining us as well. For more great resources to help you become your best self, including free worksheets and downloads, make sure to check out thebuildframework.com. That's it for this episode. I'm JP. We'll see you next time on The Build Show.